И всем привет, дорогие друзья, с вами снова я, Влад, и вы на канале Лукасиков. И сегодня мы будем играть за Стэнли Никто ничего не видел. Сейчас, секунду. Так, все, запускаем. Я тут немного поиграл, всего лишь пол игры прошел, но это не важно. Надо разработчик кросс. Сценарий, понятно. Сейчас запустим. Ну вот, вы как уже видите, я тут уже начинал игру, до Stanley Parable 2 уже прошел. Но это не важно, сегодня мы будем проходить некоторые концовки. Вот.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Будет с одним человеком, тут рядом сидит.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Он включил мой канал. Вот смотрите, Андрюху брать. Вот, скажи мне, вот этого чела брать?
Бери, конечно.
Stanley cradled the bucket in a gentle embrace, protective yet delicate, assertive yet compassionate.
Да, это же видео.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Иди в правую.
Давай ты!
Никогда не слушай его.
Я знаю. Так. Нельзя. О. Get well someday. Окей. Не,
Я пойду, короче, смотреть.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Сюда я хочу пойти, все, меня не уговори. Да? Ну ладно, пошли. Кстати, пишите комментарий. Я жирная жопа, что я пропадал. Извините, я несколько лет пропадал, да. Ставьте лайки, подписывайтесь, чтобы я больше снимал. Я, наверное, буду больше снимать, потому что каникулы, я школьник. Вот. Так вот, давайте начнем с концовки. Сейчас. Я знаю. Не. Или да. Или 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 не. Что надо? Нет, он включил мое видео.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Вот. Я просто хочу кое-что узнать. Пацаны, вот. Подписывайтесь на канал.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
О, Господи. Он включил мое видео. Помогите мне, пацаны. Ставьте лайки. И тогда вы будете лайки. Просто включил мои старые видео. Это кринж. Не смотрите. Я там вообще мелкий тупой школяр. Ой.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Это отсылка на... Я не знаю, что это отсылка.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Пошли! Да.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Смерть, мне кажется...
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Да, я
At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Да. Пошли. Привет, Никита, как дела? Никита! Так, давай.
А ну пойду.
Уи, прямо к тебе летит. Никита, а что какие-то? Все, я хочу умереть.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Прощай, Стэнли. Ура! Никита!
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
Как мне спрыгнуть? Я туда пойду. Здесь коробки.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
Где ведро? Где Андрюха? Андрюха! Так, приглашает вас на большую встречу. Вы под порогу настоящего знания. Я не умею читать.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Блин, я и забыл, как ты выглядишь, когда маленький.
Согласен, это вообще какая-то жесть. Ой.
Ну смотри, вот сравнить тебя мелким и тебя сейчас. Два разных
короче,
человека.
Мне кажется, здесь не 25 ведер. Ну ты посмотри, здесь не 25 ведер.
Мне кажется, тут больше.
Ага. Ну здесь, мне кажется, больше 25 ведер. Пишите в комментариях. Посчитайте, сколько тут ведер.
Мне кажется, тут больше 50 будет. Либо 50 примерно.
Да. Ведро с 2 ручками. Гениально.
Да.
Гениально. Адское ведро, реподурское адское ведро, которое также ценило средние века. Когда в него срали, то жопа сгорала. Угу. Понятно. The Stanley Bucket. Я пиндоски не знаю. До свидания.
Я смотрю, ты любишь смотреть части по понедельникам.
Пещерный рисунок.
По понедельникам любишь смотреть все.
Так, мы знаем, что ведра появились раньше людей, но не знаем, насколько раньше. Рисунок изображает древнего человека, который научился пользоваться ведром. Срать в него, что ли?
Насрать мне на воротник.
Реально, видишь, он жопой хочет уже в это ведро сесть и насрать на него. Вот видишь, насрал и сейчас эти антилопы пьют его говно.
Это олени.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Висящее ведро. Это верх. Я не знаю, это верх чего-то. Это верх познания.
Это верх.
И вправду верх. Это божество, я не знаю. Я пойду в эту канаву. Ой-ой-ой. Я думал, что я сейчас упаду и нафиг разобьюсь. Андрюх. Так, да. И черный экран.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine, Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Так, поехали. Все! Новая концовочка, понимаете? Я умер! Я такой крутой! Ага, да, я вижу. Так, ага, да-да.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley's bucket. The only co-worker he would ever truly need. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Ой-ой. А, нормально, нормально, пошли.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Там мой друг приколу смотрит, вот это... Ай!
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Нет.
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Нет, это кусок говна, нет. Это хлам с
Correct.
Алиэкспресс.
It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Да, давайте дальше.
Item 3. Is this a bucket?
Хо-хо-хо.
Correct. This is a bucket.
Да. О, Артем.
Item 4. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one. Is this a bucket?
Там видно, что ведро уводит.
Correct. This is a bucket. Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
А что это? Ведро с говном?
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
Вы думаете, что воздух это ведро? Пишите в комментариях, что мне выбрать, да или нет. Да.
Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something. And therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go. What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. My God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person. All right, here we go.
Так. Наверное, на сегодня достаточно. С вами был Владик Геймс. Всем пока. Всем хорошего настроения. Извините за то, что я слишком долго не выпускал видосики. Всем пока-пока.